So before we start this video, I just want to give a shout out to a guy, Jonathan Andrews. He has a YouTube channel, it's called JA's channel, and he's been a very long fan and subscriber of mine, and he's a very cool guy. He's messaged me on quite a few occasions, and he's also made some videos on his channel calling me out and mentioning me, and basically he actually named me one of his favorite YouTubers, which is really cool. And I thought I'd answer his challenge, which is basically a Dream Garage challenge is what I'm going to do here. And he has a video of himself doing the same thing that I'm about to do for you guys. So if you want to, go check his channel out, go give him a follow, go give him a like, go hit that subscribe button for him, and enjoy this video. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Dream Garage Challenge video, where I will be giving you my favorite cars that will be going in my dream garage. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be listing my favorite cars to go in a garage, basically if I had endless amounts of money and I could afford all these vehicles, and I'm going to be listing them from least favorite to most favorite. So coming in at the number 9 spot, we have a 1986 Buick Grand National X, which is a very awesome car. If you guys don't know, is one of the fastest cars from the 80s. I mean, it beat Corvettes, it beat pretty much a lot of the supercars out in the 80s, and it was a Buick, and it was a boat. And it was basically a 3.8 liter V6 turbocharged engine, and the thing was a rocket, and it was a sleeper. And that's what I like about this car, is it might not be the best looking thing out there, and really it didn't have the most power either. It wasn't really, I mean, you can consider it a muscle car, but it didn't have a V8. It had that muscle car look, but the thing was definitely badass. And the Grand National X, which was the one, the GNX is what they called it, came out in, I believe, 1980, I think it was 86, it might have been 84 or 5, but I believe it was 86. You guys that know this, comment below. But either way, the car is awesome. I actually had the pleasure of driving a Regal T-Type, which the T-Type was basically a Grand National X with the engine of a Grand National and the suspension of a Grand National, but it didn't have all of the interior like badging, and didn't have, you know, the cloth seats, the two-tone cloth seats that the Grand Nationals had. So you're probably wondering how I drove this car and why don't I have this car? Well, it was a friend of mine's car who, at the time, I was doing auto detailing, and he said, look, can you detail this car for me? I have a Buick Grand National. But he said, well, it's a T-Type, and at that time I didn't really know what it was. I heard the Grand National name, but I couldn't identify what the car was and what it was really capable of doing. So I said, I'll detail it for you. So detail it for $100, and he said, you know what? He said, have fun with it. He said, drive it around your neighborhood. You can have it for a week. Take your time, you know, detail it, drive it around. So I took the car, I was in high school, took the car to high school multiple times and pretty much drove it the entire week, didn't matter what. And then what I did was basically I detailed the car the day he was coming for it, so, you know, because if I detailed it first and then drove it, it would get dirty. So yeah, I drove it around, I probably put like 3 tanks of gas in the thing, that's how much I drove it. But it was such a fun car, I loved it. And if I could own a Buick Grand National X, that would be awesome. Black with the black rims and the silver around the rim. That's just, those cars are awesome. And to find one in very, very good condition is rare too. They're pretty expensive nowadays. I'm sure many of you already know about this car. I've already talked about it in plenty of videos. There's a lot of performance specs out there you can check out, and you guys probably already know what it is. It's the 2017 ZL1. And I'm only putting this in here because it's one of the attainable dream cars, I guess you could say, because I will be getting it next year. And I thought it had to make the list because it is a favorite car of mine. And if all goes well, you guys will see this car in my garage next year. So next we have the one and only convertible, and it's the Ferrari 360 Spider. And I chose this car because it had always been sort of special to me ever since I've been a kid. I always thought this car was awesome. Even the coupe, the 360, I think it's the Medina coupe or whatever it was called. And but I really like the Spider, I like the convertible, I like the really sleek look of it. And you know, it's not the fastest Ferrari, it's certainly not the best performing Ferrari, and it's not the craziest looking Ferrari, but it just had that Ferrari look. It had, you know, you have to get in Ferrari red, you have to get the tan interior, you know, the polished aluminum wheels on the outside, everything about it says Ferrari. It says Italian, you know, supercar. And like I said, it's not the fastest one, but if I wanted a convertible, I would definitely get the 360 Spider. So coming into the number 6 spot is another Ferrari, and again, it's not the fastest. It was of its time, but not anymore. It's the Ferrari Enzo. And this is another car that's also very special to me because when I was younger, it was my favorite car. It was literally my favorite car, was a Ferrari Enzo. You know, when it came out and I saw that car, I just was like, wow, this is the coolest looking car. It looks like an F1 car. It looks like a race car. It's awesome, but people can buy it. It was basically, I think it was the fastest Ferrari at that time for sure, if not the fastest car of that time. And at that time, a car with only like 660 horsepower that weighed less than 3,000 pounds, that was insane back then. So, I mean, it's still insane to today's standards, really. The car still outperforms many cars today. But what really tops it off is the fact that there's only 400 of them made, and they don't make them anymore, and the only way to get them is if you want to pay like $1 million to somebody who already owns them. So I think the rarity of the car just says something in itself. So a lot of guys think just because I own a Chevy Camaro, I automatically hate Ford, and I do not. And while this next one isn't generally a Ford car, it does have a Ford engine in it, and that's the Saleen S7 twin turbo. So the reason I chose the twin turbo, only because, well, this one has 750 horsepower. So I think the coolest part about this car is that it's an American-built supercar. Now, it was originally designed in the UK, but it did come to America and it was hand-built, I think, in California. And basically, Saleen is a company that does a lot of things to Mustangs and Ford basically in general. I mean, they've done stuff with Chevy, but it's very, very rare. And they came out with their own car called the S7, and they have the standard S7, which is just the Ford V8, and then they have the S7 twin turbo. And then you could also add a package, which is basically a competition package, as they called it, that would give the car 1,000 horsepower. Now the car is already a beast at 750 horsepower, and I think it was one of the first cars to go below 3 seconds 0 to 60, and well, definitely American cars. And it could do 248 miles an hour. So that's pretty awesome to achieve in basically the year 2006, or that was the last year they made them. But yeah, just to achieve something like that in the early 2000s is insane. And it being an American car with an American V8 in the back, I'll take one. So this next car is sort of a famous car, and if you guys have ever watched the movies Back to the Future, this is in it. The DeLorean DMC12. And DMC stands for DeLorean Motor Company, which have only made a couple cars, and basically this car started out, I think it was produced between 81 and 83, and it was built in Ireland. They only made about 9,000 of them, and I think the coolest part about this car, I mean, not only because I was a big fan of Back to the Future, but it's just such a unique car. It had the gull-wing doors that opened. It had that stainless steel finish. It was so unique and different than anything else on the road. And this car definitely wasn't the fastest car, even though it looks like it would be fast. It's not fast at all. It hardly has a top speed, and it's very slow accelerating. But the car is so cool. And if I would get one, it would definitely have the Back to the Future kit on it, because you can buy the kit, you can put a kit on these cars. And this is a very rare car today, especially to have one in good condition. So they're definitely worth some money. And what's also cool about this car is earlier this year, DMC said they were going to make 100 of them, and they were going to sell them for a little under $100,000. So I'm not sure if they're going to be making the exact same one from the 80s, or they're going to be making a new kind of modernized version of the DeLorean, but it'll be interesting to see. Either way, the DeLorean has definitely earned its way in my garage to the number 4 spot. So next we have an incredibly fast car and an incredibly rare car at number 3, and that is the Koenigsegg 1-to-1. So if you guys don't know what this car is, go look it up right now, because this car is one of the only cars that has a 1-to-1 ratio of power to weight, which is insane because the car itself is light and the car itself has a lot of power. So that says fast car. The cool thing about the Koenigsegg's too is the way the doors open, and they're a little bit different from like Lambo style doors or gull-wing doors. So what they do is they sort of open like Lambo doors, but when they get to a certain point, they actually swing out, and you can have full room to get out of your car without even hitting the door. Like, the door is nowhere near being in your way. And personally, I think their technology on the way these doors open is the best in the market right now. So like I was saying before, it's a fast car, but it's also a very rare car, and there's only 6 of them made in the entire world. They did make a 7th, but that was a pre-production car, basically a test car that they're in there and now selling as well, labeled number 00, which is kind of cool. And the car itself has been selling now for $6 million if somebody wants to buy one, which, take my money now, you want to check? Here, put it on my card. So also this car was actually the first mega car ever in the world, which I'm not really sure what mega car even means, but you've got supercar, hypercar, mega car. I believe it has to do with the fact that it creates 1 megawatt of power. Maybe that's what that means, I'm not really sure. But either way, it puts out a little more than 1,300 horsepower and weighs a little more than 1,300 kilograms. So the Koenigsegg 1-to-1 definitely deserves the number 3 spot. So we've got 2 more cars to do, almost at the number 1 spot. What do you guys think it is? Do you think it's gonna be a crazy, crazy supercar that's gonna make the top 2 spots? Or do you think it's gonna be something more on the lines of me? Well, the number 2 spot is none other than the 1969 Camaro ZL1. Some of you guys are probably thinking, I didn't know they made a ZL1 in the 60s. I thought they only made them in the 5th gen Camaros. This is where the ZL1 got its name from. The 1969 Camaro, they only made 69 of these. And they were Copo Camaro, basically, and that stands for Central Office Production Order, if you guys didn't know that. And the ZL1 code name was basically the name for the engine, and it was a 427 aluminum block engine that put out a very conservative estimated horsepower from Chevy. I'll just say that. I did get a chance to see one of these cars in person, which was very cool, and I saw it at the GM Nationals show in Carlisle this year. You guys might have seen that video. It was where Mike's Corvette had the wrap done, and that's where he got basically millions of views for that. That was the video it was in. So the story was we were basically getting ready to leave GM Nationals, and I looked out of the corner of my eye, and there was like a pavilion with all these classic cars in it, and I was like, oh my god, that looks like a 69 ZL1. I gotta go see it. I was like, I don't care what I'm doing, I have to go see this car because I don't know when I'll get to see it ever again in my life. They're so rare. So I went over, I checked the car out, the guy was there, the car was in perfect condition. The guy like basically never drove it. I couldn't believe it. And he said that he was offered $800,000 for that car and he declined it because the value's just gonna go up. He talked to his lawyer, talked to everybody, said don't sell the car, just wait for it to go up. I mean, they're going for like $1 million now, so he was good at not selling it. I mean, if somebody waved $800,000 in my face for a car, it'd be hard to pass up, but at the same time, I don't think, if I had a 69 ZL1, I definitely would not sell it. And that's only because of the rarity of the car and the fact that a 69 Camaro was one of my favorite cars growing up, you know, out of the muscle car era. My dad had one, now I've got a Camaro. I still want to get a 69 Camaro. I'm going to own one before I die. And the ZL1 obviously is special to me because I own a 5th gen ZL1. And that's basically where my car got its name from. And I think that definitely deserves to be number 2 in my dream garage. So here we are, we've made it to the number 1 spot. What is it? What's my favorite car? If I could have any car in the world, what would it be? You're gonna find out after this ad. So this car holds probably the most value toward me, especially during my childhood. It's probably the most special vehicle. I can't even really call it a car because it's a vehicle. And to own one of these, they never made it, they never produced it, nobody makes it. And to have this is one of those things where, yeah, I've never seen one of those on the road. And that's the 1989 Batmobile. And I know what you guys are thinking, what the hell, why would you want a Batmobile? Well, why wouldn't you want a Batmobile? The thing is badass. When's the last time you saw a Batmobile driving down the road? When? You just don't see it. It just doesn't happen because nobody has them. You either have to build one from scratch or you had to buy the movie prop from the 1989 Batman movie. Now, you could also get one from the 91 Batman movie, which was Batman Returns. They're very similar, but the reason I chose the 89 Batmobile was because it's the very first Batman movie, and when I was a kid, I was so into Batman. That was it. Batman, Batman, Batman. He is my favorite superhero. I had a ton of Batman toys. I had all the Batmobiles. I had the first one, I had the second one, I had the one from the third movie, I had the Bruce Wayne mobile. I had everything. I mean, I lived and breathed Batman like it was my favorite thing. I have pictures of myself. My parents are professional photographers. Well, they were. They've retired now. But they took pictures of me as Batman. I had a Batman costume, yeah. So, to own the 1989 Batmobile would, I mean, I don't care what car you have. I have a Batmobile. It doesn't matter. So, that's the cool thing about this car. Obviously, it's not the fastest. I mean, it doesn't matter at that point. You're driving a Batmobile down the road with machine guns that come out and shoot, and you basically have a roof that slides on a track, and that's how you get out of the vehicle. There's no doors. You literally jump in and jump out of the vehicle, and it's pretty much powered by a rocket, a turbine engine. Now, in the movie, obviously it wasn't. It was fake, and they had, I think it was an electric car for some of the scenes. So I was talking to a guy earlier this year at the Corvettes in Carlisle show, and he knew the guy who built the models for that movie, and they were actually working on a fiberglass version of that car, and I was just like, yeah, I want one. I said, I will own one. If I have the money to buy one and have one built, I will own one before I die. So that's obviously the ultimate goal of me, is to own a Batmobile. And it doesn't even matter. If I have that Batmobile, done. So the Batmobile being the #1 spot in my dream garage, probably not what you were thinking, but I mean, let's be honest, who could argue with that? And another thing cool about the Batmobile, that if I actually did own one, here's what I would do. I don't know if you've heard of the guy that would drive his black Lamborghini to children's hospitals dressed as Batman and basically cheer up their day. He just did charity, that's all he did. And I thought that was completely awesome. But unfortunately, the guy was hit on the side of the road and was killed when his Lamborghini broke down. That's just devastating to somebody like, what, I mean, the amount of things that he did for those kids over the past few years was just insane. And the fact that he had to die, it's just devastating. So what I would do is basically, if I had that Batmobile, I would continue that. I would go, I would get the best costume, I would drive to hospitals, I'd drive to whoever in the Batmobile and do some sort of charity work like that, just because it's always what I've wanted to do since I've been a kid. I've always wanted to be Batman. So you gotta have a Batmobile to do that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about the cars that I listed, comment below. I'm also getting ready to do a Q&A video. So if you guys have not asked me any questions, go to my previous video. I'll link it right here. And go to the comment section, #AskNick. Ask me your question, I'll answer it. It doesn't matter what it is, just be nice. And then what I'll be doing is I'll be making a video answering obviously all the questions that you've asked me, and I'll also be giving you some kind of secret information about me, personal information that I thought I'd share with you guys. So stay tuned for that video. As always, go below, follow all of my social media. It is in the description. Hit that subscribe button and have a great day.